It's time for another edition of Lewis at Large with Warner Lewis. 60 minutes of smart talk radio with interesting guests from all walks of life begins right now. So sit back and enjoy. And now, from the flight deck, here's your host, Warner Lewis.
Well, welcome everybody to another segment of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck. And of course, that means some smart talk radio is in your future. This segment, no exception. Got a really good one here. We're going to be talking to Dr. Gary Epler. He's an internationally known pulmonary and critical care professor at Harvard Medical School in Boston. He's recognized yearly since 1994 as in the best doctors of America. He believes personalized health empowers people. He's written 4 health books. In the critically acclaimed You're the Boss series about people taking charge of their health. And it is going to be an interesting discussion indeed. Specifically today, we will be talking about Fuel for Life, Level 10 Energy indeed. Dr. Epler, Gary, how are you, my friend?
Oh, Warner, couldn't be better. It's fantastic. Had a great run this morning with my wife here in Boston and had a nice workout. I'm ready to have a great Level 10 Energy day.
Well, wonderful. That is wonderful. I've got a question for you. You are a medical doctor. Share with us, if you would. There's thought out there that the medical community in general is doling out good advice, but sometimes they don't take their own advice. Besides yourself, leave yourself out of it. As you look around your medical colleagues, how healthy are they?
They're getting healthier. They certainly took that smoking issue into effect years ago. In the 40s, 50s, they actually were smoking. The doctors were, and now I think it's less than 2%. So they're definitely taking that advice, and they're starting to exercise. They're certainly improving their diet with less and less saturated fats and so forth.
Well, let's dive right in here. The world is busy. The world is stressed. The day is no longer an 8-hour workday, and we spend the rest of time in leisure and sleep. First of all, let's start here. What are we doing wrong that is devoiding and draining our body in general of energy and good health?
Well, the biggest, absolute, probably number one is sleep, lack of sleep. Interrupted sleep, just poor sleep hygiene. That's probably the number one thing that's sort of sucking our energy out on a daily basis. And the second is chronic stress. You mentioned it. And acute stress, we can usually handle that. A little fender bender or a computer falls apart or something. Yeah, it's stressful and we sort of lose it for a while, but that doesn't hurt us. It's the chronic stress day in and day out. Those two things absolutely destroy our energy. And stress actually shorten our lives.
What about, and again, as I think about sort of this Fuel for Life Level 10 Energy, are there particular age groups that are better at staying in shape, that are more aware of their body, more aware of their health, and also beyond age group, what about gender?
No, not necessarily. There's not really an age group. They're all pretty much the same. There is a group, a certain percentage of each age group in their 20s, 30s, and 50s, and 100s that live the right kind of life, that live this level 10 energy. They get the right amount of sleep, they get the exercise, and they eat the right foods. And it really is not related to age. And gender's the same. Women and men pretty much equally. There's a group of people that do the right thing.
What about, okay, well, let's do this. Let's dive right in here, this whole Level 10 energy. What are some of the steps in unlocking this energy each day for us?
Absolutely. There's 5 of them, and they're traditional. There's nothing new and exciting about each one, but every one of them has something new, a new twist, and you put the 5 together, and it's unbelievable. It'll give you that level 10 energy. And the first one is that sleep we talked about. And Warner, you need 8. No matter what happens, you need 8 hours. It has to do with recharging the adenosine. It's a chemical in the brain, and during the day that gets depleted, and you have to recharge it. And 5 hours is not enough to recharge that adenosine. It's an energy chemical. It's basically an energy chemical. And 10 hours is too much. You don't need 10 hours. So 8 it is. That's the first one.
That seems to me the one that people, I completely agree with you. The lack of sleep is something, you see it in the workplace every single day.
Every day.
Everybody at 2:30 hits that wall and bang, they're yawning and everything else. So, all right, so there we go. Well, tell us what else.
Okay, now the second one, before we get to the second one, I said there's a twist to each one of these. Of course, we know we need 8 hours. We've been told that for 100 years. But the twist is, if you take a nap, Warner, it's okay to sneak that nap in every once in a while. Maybe you only get your 7 or so hours. Take a nap. It's okay, but make sure it's less than 20 minutes. Take an 18-minute nap. It will not hurt you a bit, and not only that, it'll give you a little bit of energy. And 30 minutes is too much. 45 minutes is deadly. An hour is deadly. If you take an hour nap, you're going to be the groggy the rest of the day. Okay. And the science behind it is that we have sleep patterns. Each night, we sleep about 2.5 pattern. It's a 2.5 pattern where we have deep sleep and REM sleep and so forth. And if you sleep more than 20 minutes, you slip into that pattern, and it just completely messes up the cycle. 18-minute nap, perfect. So, number 2 is exercise. Again, we've been told over and over exercise is so important, and I love it. I mean, as I said this morning, a wonderful run with my wife, and I had a great workout. And you really need, for energy, you need an hour every day, 7 days a week, to get that energy. To shave a few years off your life, 20 minutes is fine. But to really get that energy, it takes that long. And vigorous exercise is the best of person's ability. And there's so many benefits of it. I just found out a new one. An 88-year-old woman walked out of the hair salon, slipped, fell, broke her jaw, had facial wounds all over the place, bled into the brain, had to go into the ICU, had to go in the hospital, and now had to go to rehabilitation. And she had no reflexes. She just had, because she doesn't work out, she doesn't exercise. And another 88-year-old had the same thing, fell down. I mean, what's going to happen? It's going to happen when you're 70s, 80s. I mean, it happens all the time. But he was able to block his fall, and he had a couple bruises on his shoulder and was up running around in a week or so. So it's just so important. There's so many good things about exercise.
So the average person, you think, should get at least an hour a day of exercise. You're saying it's vigorous. Sort of define, and again, I know you're not here doling out health advice, but just in general, rule of thumb, define what in an hour, what should we be doing?
Well, mix it up. It's key to mix it up. For example, if somebody's absolutely sedentary, they've done nothing, you don't want to go out and start doing an hour every day. You do the 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes of walking is just perfect for somebody that's never done anything. And the benefits are very fast in a person who hasn't done anything. But say you've got beyond that and you're starting to really exercise, and an hour a day, for example, 1 hour could be what's called the spin class, where you in a group and you spin on a bicycle, and that's got the socialization part, which is even better. And the other one is there's a thing called elliptical, there's bicycles, there's treadmills, all those three things, and you sort of do those for 10, 15, 20 minutes. That sort of gives the aerobic part. And then it's really important to do some strength exercise, especially in 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, because each day that goes by, we lose a little bit of muscle mass after age 29. And you don't have to do the bench and lift hundreds of pounds, but 5-pound weights or 10-pound weights, just do some exercises with the arms is really very important.
Okay, so we've got exercise, we got sleep. Tell us what else.
And you know exactly what this is. You have to eat the right things.
Right.
You have to eat the right things for energy, foods. There's foods that'll absolutely deplete you, and you know them. I mean, if you go have a nice big some sort of a pastry or a cake or something, and you don't have like a muffin, and you don't have anything else, about 90 minutes, you're going to absolutely hit the wall. You're going to feel, oh, I'm really tired. It's a response. It's the sugar response. And so here are the right foods. There's three of them. The first one is lean protein. Lean protein is just wonderful, just pure energy. And what I mean by lean protein is you take the chicken, for example, take all the skin and the fat and so forth, just absolutely nothing except a chicken and boil it. It's boring by itself, but you can really jazz it up very quickly with some healthy herbs and so forth. And salmon, for example, is another one. And for vegetarians, there's a great plant. It's called quinoa. And it's from South America, and it's a grain. It's just a wonderful source of protein. And of course, the legumes, the beans, and so forth. So protein is key. That's number one.
All right, quick question on that. Where do you give us your quick, just knee-jerk response to the Atkins diet in general?
Atkins diet, in my opinion, is too much protein, too much of the wrong kind of protein. It's called animal protein. Too much animal protein, and that animal protein includes steaks, things like bacon, ham, and the dairy products, too much the cheeses and milk, and all of these animal fats. Those are the dangerous ones. On the other hand, the free-range chicken, and there's actually free-range beef, has a certain kind of more unsaturated fat called omega-6, which is not so dangerous. And so that's the issue with the Atkins diet. It's just way too much of animal protein.
All right, next one.
Next one is a little trickier, and that's the fats. We need them. We have to have them. We have to have them for hormones. We have to have them for cell structure, and you got to stick with the unsaturated fat ones. And those are omega-3, for example. It's just absolutely the best around. It's omega-3. It's an unsaturated fat. It's found in salmon, found in walnuts. And it protects the heart. It literally is an anti-inflammatory agent that floats around the bloodstream and gets rid of the toxic fats. And the bad ones are the saturated ones, and we've talked about them, the animal fats, the lard, and so forth. And the reason these are dangerous is because they circulate around the bloodstream and build up inflammation in the arteries and plaque. And those arteries leading to the heart, they block them up, and you have a heart attack, and that's the end of it. So that's the issue with the saturated fats. So unsaturated fats, omega-3 is a good one.
All right, and one more.
The last one. This is the biggest problem in America. The last one is absolutely the biggest problem. It's very difficult for me. It's what I call fast burn carbohydrates. We need to have slow burn carbohydrates. Slow burn carbohydrates simply mean carbohydrates that don't increase the blood sugar. And they're your old favorites. Things like spinach, broccoli. There's a thing called rapini. These are phenomenal slow burn source of carbohydrates. The other good one are the just great slow burn carbohydrates, and so the fiber is another one that's really great to have. And so these are the good ones. The bad ones, the number one thing in the United States, the number one favorite food in the United States is potato, and it's in the form of French fries. Is form of chips, and you can't eat one chip, and that's the biggest problem. You can handle a little bit of some of these fast burn carbs, but the problem is too many of them, the blood sugar shoots up, and then insulin comes out to control that blood sugar, and right behind insulin is cortisol, and that's a hormone. It causes fat around the bellies. It's just what it does, because cortisol jazzes up the system, the heart, and everything to sort of run and be ready for an emergency. It shuts down the digestion. And so cortisol is the big culprit. And what will increase that are these fast burn carbs, all of the sugary-based foods, the sugary-based drinks. and anything that's going to increase that blood sugar. So those are the ones to try to stay away from.
Well, if you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis, from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio. Special guest today, an internationally known pulmonary and critical care professor at Harvard Medical School in Boston, Dr. Gary Epler. We're talking about Fuel for Life, Level 10 Energy. Okay, you've told us what our issues are. Look around the landscape, and let's just use North America for right now. Are we getting better at this or worse?
Oh, worse. Warner,
okay.
we're not doing well.
Okay.
Portion size. You know what's happened to portion size the past 5 or 10 years. There's enough in those plates for 3 people. When you go to a restaurant, a muffin, what are they, twice as big as they used to be? Soft drinks, they're just insane amounts. And so all of this is not helping. And it's just there. It's just available. All of these foods that are so unhealthy, they're everywhere. They're cheap. And, they're tasty, Warner. That's the problem.
Darn it, they make that food taste good. Yeah, that's bad.
That's an issue. It tastes great. But we have to, one person at a time. That's the only way I can do it, is just grassroots, one person at a time. Learn about these foods. And you can develop a taste for these really, really healthy foods. And not only do you develop a taste for them, but after a while you feel so good about eating these rather than eating the ones that you know are going to hurt you. And it's a feeling that takes time. It's subtle. But, boy, once that kicks in, you really don't want to go back to that unhealthy food.
Well, Dr. Epler, your work has been pulmonary and critical care, but you also speak to the mind and the psychosomatic version of that. How can people use their mind, so to speak, to create energy and head towards health?
Yeah, this is really becoming important. And there's 2, and that's step 4 and step 5. Step 4 is really simple. Learn something new every day. It's just so important to learn something new. Anything random, the more random it is. Learn about economics. Learn about philosophy. Go dancing. Go on a bobsled ride. That's what I did over the weekend. Just do something new. It's just amazing what it does for the mind. Learn something new. And I think the issue is nobody likes to take tests. I can't stand taking tests. And I think people think of learning as taking tests, but it's not. You don't know no tests. You just learn something new. It's really, really great for energy and really keeps a healthy mind. That's number 4. Number 5. This one's a little bit more difficult, but I think it really is important. It's an important part of this whole concept of increased energy and living a really high-energy life. And that gets into using alpha and theta brain waves while you're awake.
Alpha?
All right?
Okay.
Alpha brain waves.
All right, help us with that one.
So there you are, Warner. We have 5 different brain waves. There are different speeds. And the one that you and I are in right now is called beta. And it's 14 cycles per second, but it's called beta. And it helps us kind of do things day to day, drive cars and so forth, get dressed. And it's really nice to have. And then there's slower ones. And the next slower one's called alpha. And that's the one, if you daydream, you're an alpha. If you wake up and your eyes are kind of fluttering, it's called rapid eye movement, and having dreams, you're an alpha. And it's slower. And it's really, really a very healthy state to be in. It helps you in so many health ways, and it literally prolongs life. And then there's theta, and theta is really deep. You're in a deep sleep at that time. And then delta, and delta is 4 cycles per second. It's so slow. I don't think anybody can get into that while they're awake. So that's really deep sleep. And you have to have 15 minutes of that every day. So going back to alpha, that's the one that we can do that while awake. And the traditional way, of course, is meditation. And like a Buddha and sitting and and saying certain things, and that is, it's certainly great if people can do that. I'm way too hyper to do that, and most Americans right now are. We're just doing so much, and so I would do what I call eyes open meditation, or alpha state, and I do it on the treadmill, and when I'm sort of running a relatively slow speed, I just sort of space out, and it's like daydreaming, and you just let your mind kind of wander and space out and enjoy that 10, 15 minutes of alpha rhythm, and it's really, really healthy.
Dr. Epler, a little bit off topic here, but it's somewhat, I think, in the same neighborhood, and that is, overall, from what you see at the med schools, are doctors being taught the proper ways to advise on nutrition and issues such as this? It's starting. There's not a course. There wasn't when I was certainly when in medical school in the 80s and so forth. But I teach over at Harvard Medical School, and in our little sessions, case sessions and so forth, we certainly talk about it. Just this concept of holistic. It's not just giving pills, and the questions are changing. We used to just ask, well, what hurts? How long does it hurt? And what kind of pain and so forth? But now we talk about family, and we talk about the environmental situation people are in. We talk about diet. And so I think it's coming along and getting there. Well, the concept is called Fuel for Life, Level 10 Energy. Dr. Gary Epler, internationally known pulmonary and critical care professor at Harvard Medical School, a long dossier of accomplishments, not only here but also around the world as well. What Dr. Epler, as we kind of wind down here, what's the first thing our listener can do when they're done listening to this fine interview? What's the first thing they should do?
The first thing is to start to practice these concepts if they aren't already doing it. And probably, as I say, the number one is sleep. And to start with that one. And the way to do that is pick a time to go to bed, whether it's 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11, and add 8 hours and get up. Don't get up before. And whatever you do, get up when that 8 hours is finished. And that's a good way to start. And then learn about it. Try to get into an exercise. The best thing is with a friend. And the other is just keep your eyes open about foods and try to eat those healthy foods. Those are the three big things I could say.
Dr. Epler, how can people find out more about your work and also get a copy of this guide, Fuel for Life, Level 10 Energy?
Sure, it's at Epler.com, EPLER, health.com. And the book, Fuel for Life, that's available there at the site. And I'll send you a copy and probably even sign it. Or Amazon. It's through Amazon as well.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your energy, your enthusiasm, and your insight. And best of luck to you. So what's your next thing? What's your next project?
Well, my next project is working on another book, and it's an unusual title. It's called Live to 140. Okay. I think people can live to 140 years, and I'm going to tell you how, because it would be great, Warner.
Oh, man, that's a lot of mowing of the lawn I hadn't planned on, but okay.
That's true.
Hey, well, listen, thank you so much.
Great. You're going to have a wonderful day.
Great. Thank you. We'll be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.